CMSportsNet presents A Season Lost, High School Lacrosse 2020. Brought to you by Carroll Lynx.
Hello, and welcome to A Season Lost. I'm Ben Love. My guests today are Jeremy Benson, head coach for Century High School Lacrosse team, Jackson Zimmer, and Alex Ellis, who are players for the Century Lacrosse team. Welcome, everyone. So, Coach, first question's for you. How has the COVID-19 shutdown affected you and your ability to stay in contact with everyone?
Yeah. Well, thanks for interviewing us, Ben. But it's definitely limited everything. Once we shut down, I've been in contact with them a little bit over text, trying to kind of make sure I'm reaching out to the right guys. But the teammates, the captains, have done a really good job of kind of doing that themselves, reaching out to each other, making sure guys that might be a little more out of the way, who don't get to see anyone, just keeping in touch with all of them. But obviously not seeing everyone every day is a little bit of a struggle.
Definitely. I can only imagine. So Jackson and Alex, Jackson first, really, how is COVID affecting you from the player standpoint?
As a player, I felt really good coming into the season. We got a good 2 weeks in tryouts and then practice, and we actually had a scrimmage the day before our season really got canceled or school got closed. So I felt like we were rolling really strong into the season, felt really good in the first scrimmage, and then everything got shut down for us. So it's just a big letdown not to see the potential that I saw on the team.
Right. How about you, Alex?
More from my standpoint, it was just because it kind of realization that I lost my entire senior season to COVID, and it sucks because I was really looking forward to coming back in this year and starting as the LSM that I like, the spot that I really wanted to start the past 2 years as well. And I was just fighting for it the entire time in tryouts and practice. And it came out in our first scrimmage, and I started. And I had a really good scrimmage, and it sucks, but that COVID just kind of shut down everything. And I was really looking forward to the whole season and everyone playing great. But
Yeah,
it's more a personal thing because I worked so hard in the off season and I never had a chance to really show what I had.
I feel bad for you, man. 2020 has been tough on everyone. So, Coach, how what are your plans for the players this summer? I know a lot of summer ball still isn't going on. Do you have your guys meeting up to practice, or what are you encouraging?
So, kind of once the season ended, we were staying optimistic. You know, we got the first 2 week that slowed everything, that stopped everything, and we were kind of optimistic we'd get back to it. But once we knew we weren't going back to school, not that I didn't stay in contact with everyone, but we just knew it was going to be that much harder to be able to organize something. How would we even be able to practice, especially under the name of Century Lacrosse, with school not being, we can't really have those type of activities. In the club aspect, we have just started up the past few weeks, starting with, really keeping socially distant, not wearing full gear, kids wearing masks to and from practice, coaches all wearing masks, and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actually the Century guys, we kind of knew when the season was canceled, that was it. And then just kind of keeping in touch with everyone who's playing club sports or who's maybe planning to start football, hopefully, or soccer.
Right. So just to add on to that, how have you been able to help your juniors, really get in front of coaches with limited tape? How can you help them achieve their goals of furthering their lacrosse at the college level?
Yeah, definitely limited tape. And with the new college rules, before all this happened, college coaches were staying a lot more patient and waiting for kids to develop because they're not allowed to reach out until later. So even though they're allowed to reach out in the fall, coaches are still a little bit more patient. So this summer and this fall is going to be really big for the guys. Now tournaments are pushed off, and who knows if college coaches are going to be able to, be at the tournaments, or if we're even going to have tournaments if this gets spikes anytime and they decide to shut certain states down, you really don't know. So what I've been trying to do is keep in touch with the guys that I know really want to play in college and staying on them, that hopefully they're staying in shape and that they're going to get opportunities, and to make sure that they're ready for those opportunities, whether it's training now for summer or it's staying in shape and maybe not being able to play until the fall, just being ready for your opportunity once it comes, and not having the excuse of us not knowing what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, you always got to stay prepared. You never know, especially, I mean, no one knows what's going to happen for the rest of 2020 after the first 6 months. But that's a great segue for Alex and really for Jackson. You're a junior, still going to have your senior year. How are you staying in shape? Like, how are you staying ready?
So all summer I've ever really since the season ended, I would go out every day. Matt Daniel, teammate of mine, I played attack with, and we'd go out and we'd get shots in, we'd feed each other and just really stay in touch with our sticks, because we were really super hopeful that we'd get a season going. And then when it passed, it was really hard to keep that motivation going. But I tried to think about it's going to be my last season next year if we get that, and it's really just my last season to show everybody what I'm made of and what I can do. And as long as this is also my last summer of club ball, and that's really going to determine where I play college ball and who wants to recruit me and where my options are going to be. So I'm just I get up every morning and I do my running, or I shoot, play wall ball, whatever it takes that's going to make me better. So when the season comes, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So Alex, are you playing at the next level?
Yep. So I'm playing for a Division II program that's actually going to be their second year this year. It's down in South Carolina. The school is Lander University, and it's in Greenwood, South Carolina. And they had a really successful first year, even with COVID happening. I believe they went 6-2, which was awesome, as a roster of all freshmen.
Oh yeah.
And I'm super excited to get down there, and I'm especially in the fall. And we still have a fall ball season, which is nice, but hopefully we can stick through it and stay in the spring as well.
Definitely. So Jackson, is your goal to play lacrosse at the next level? And if so, I mean, how far do you want to take it?
So I currently have a couple options on the table, coaches I'm talking to. I do plan to play in college. Right now my options are pretty open, because usually I was a little late to the process. I wasn't sure if I was going to play in college, and then I really stepped up and decided that that's what I wanted to do. So I've gotten in contact recently, but the problem is that they all basically tell you that they can't really do anything because of the whole COVID thing. You can't go visit, and you can't really be in front of them. So I'm just trying to stay patient, do what I can, keep in front of it, and then whatever happens, happens.
Exactly. And honestly, I would look at it as an advantage, because the same thing is happening to every other junior out there. And if you're putting in the work, I can tell you half of them aren't going to be putting in that work. And then you're going to be looking great in front of those coaches when time does come, because pretty much they're all in the same boat. They're going to have to fill their roster spots in a very short period of time. So it could work out really well for you. And it seems like you're playing your cards right. So, Coach, obviously we talked about this affecting seniors and their chances to get scholarships. But what are your plans internally? Have you talked with the Carroll County athletic director? What are you guys doing, or do you know what's going to happen next year?
You're talking about for our regular season for Century?
For regular season for Century, and I guess they would fill in the spring and fall coaches all together with their timeline. Have you heard anything on what they're looking to do?
Right. So what I do like about the way that Maryland's kind of handled it is they're kind of staying quiet, and they're definitely planning on different things and different options. But I do appreciate that they didn't just give up on the season from the beginning and just canceled everything. That they, took a two-week break, and they didn't have a plan right away. They kind of came out with a few things that they might try to do. But then as they just kept pushing it back, we knew it wasn't going to be an option. And then moving forward, I think they're really still deciding on what exactly the fall is going to look like. I've heard a few rumors of football being moved to the spring or certain things like that. But I think it's just so. I mean, we've been dealing with COVID for what feels like a while, but I mean, September is pretty far away in the grand scheme of exactly what's happening. So I think they are staying. You know, they're thinking of what they're going to do, but they're staying patient with what they're deciding and kind of figuring out exactly what happens with COVID.
Right. That makes great sense. Lacrosse really isn't a sport where you can socially distance
Yeah.
very well at all. I mean, I can only think of maybe golf.
Yeah.
As being one of the only sports that would be no problem. You could still play that.
Right. And I think that the way that they change practices, even just in club, we don't have kids on top of each other in line drills. You know, we are keeping the kids as distant as possible. We're not, when a scrum happens, sometimes we're just blowing the whistle and separating it. So there's a lot of things you can do to help. But yeah, we're not going to, you can't play even soccer, which is less you can't play while keeping social distance. It's just not a reality. So
right, yeah, it's certainly not going to be the game of lacrosse we all know and love.
Yeah.
It would be way different. It would almost be like foosball.
Right.
You have to stay in this zone.
Frisbee.
Yeah, exactly. So Alex and Jackson, besides lacrosse, what have you guys been doing while you're in the shutdown? I mean, it's got to be tough not being able to hang out with more than one friend at a time, not really being able to go enjoy your summer. What have you guys been doing?
Do you want to go first, Jackson? Or you need to do it?
Go ahead. You're good.
All right, cool. So I've been doing a couple of things. Mostly I've been spending time with my family because I am going away to school, and it's kind of a big thing for especially my siblings. They're starting to get upset. They're starting to realize what's happening and just how real the situation is that I'm leaving and going to be down at school for a while. So I'm making sure I've been spending a lot of time with them individually and together. We went on one trip to see my grandparents just for my grandmother's birthday. So it was great to see them and hang out with them for a little bit too. And we're doing like an end of the summer kind of graduation trip when like most rules were relaxed. But other than that, I've been working a lot, trying to make some money before I go off to school. Not a whole lot else than those two things.
Yeah. So what about you, Jackson?
So when school was still happening, did a lot of online stuff, make sure I got my grades right for one of the summer. And then as soon as summer happened, I have a full-time job at a pool. So when that became a thing that we could open those, I've been working there every day. So I usually wake up and I do whatever work I have to do lacrosse-wise, and then I head to work most of the day, and then I head home, do whatever family, friend time I want to do, hang out. So it's been pretty relaxing. I'm getting stuff done, just trying to stay productive.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So how badly, Coach, pretty much you know where the talent is going to be in the county. You know who has the bullseye on their back. You know who is going to be favored, who's expected to win. But now COVID throws this wrench in to it. How badly do you think a year off will how do you think it will affect? Do you think it will be a lesser grade of lacrosse in Carroll County than we're used to seeing, or do you think it's just going to be far superior because you have the guys working all the time?
Right. So I kind of had that idea when they shut us down for 2 weeks. I believed that even though we weren't practicing and we couldn't get together, I felt like the guys that we have in our program really wanted it and were all bought in, and they were working the best of their ability. So if we came back, that I thought we'd be as prepared as any team just because of the grind that all the guys have. And I think the same thing coming in the next year. Or even a guy like Jackson was coming in, trying to play with 2 other seniors and had 3 attackmen that were seniors. So he kind of wasn't asked to do too much. And we had a bunch of young guys that were going to be able to get a few reps and not be able to put too much weight on them. Now with losing all those reps from this past year, and all that experience is going to be hard moving forward. But I mean, Carroll County is a really talented county. I think we're one of the better teams, but you still have Westminster, Liberty, South Carroll have all played in state championships. Manchester Valley would, if they didn't have to go through Westminster every year. And even Winters Mill and FSK, you know, they have a lot of guys that are really talented lacrosse players that go and play college lacrosse. And when they play outside the county, they do well. So I think it does hurt in some ways. But Carroll County is such a talented – I've heard some ideas that we might just play in the county. That's like a football idea that they might just play in conference, and in high school they might just play in county. And I wouldn't mind that idea at all, to play – all the teams in the county once, maybe even a few of them twice would be a great schedule for us moving into the playoffs. So I think it could hurt in some ways, but this county's good enough that I think they'll do fine.
That would be so much fun. Those were always the best games, the in-county games, where you get the smack talk for one whole year when you beat them, you know. We did last year. So I actually played for Winters Mill, and one of our big rivals was obviously Westminster, but Century was probably right there even with Westminster. And just to talk about your guys' rivals, who are your biggest rivals? And I want to hear it from you and the players too, because I know the players sometimes have different rivals.
So I'll go first. I mean, I went to Liberty, and I started coaching at Liberty too. When I first started, I was just an assistant there. And I've also coached a lot of those guys that are at Liberty and some that are at South Carroll through Freedom and through Rec. So I do have like an idea of what those teams are. So those mean a lot to me, that we can win those games, but it's also cool to play against them. I think Westminster, if you're not fighting to try to beat Westminster, then, you know, that two-time back-to-back state champs, then, you know, I don't know what you're doing. But I really do believe even the Manchester Valley has always given us a good game. I think they're really well coached. There's just but the Liberty, South Carroll, and then the Westminster, I think, are kind of our big games where everyone gets up for.
Definitely. And Alex, you go ahead first on this one.
All right, so personally for me, it's either Liberty or South Carroll, just because those guys that those are guys that I grew up playing with, and like through Freedom and South Carroll, and because I personally went up through South Carroll's rec program, so I grew up playing a lot of South Carroll kids, and so that was always like the biggest game where I know a ton of people, so it's just a lot more fun for me. And I mean, I always got up for every game, but just those two games specifically really stood out.
Okay, and Jackson?
Yeah, I think every game that's in the county is going to be tough. You got to show up to play. But I went through the rec program at Freedom when I was a kid, so I grew up playing against all these Liberty kids, and I've been friends with them, been around them, talked to them. So it's super hard not to mark your calendar when you're playing against those guys, and you really got to show them what's up when they play the guys in green.
Definitely. That's awesome. Takes me back to the good days. But, so – would you say, if you had to put an overall favorite going into the year just based on their past, Westminster would probably be number one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one that we definitely had circled. I mean, 2 years ago we got knocked out by Liberty. You know, I've had some losses that are big against South Carroll and stuff, but I mean, if you're trying to compete in the county, you got to win the county, and Westminster's won the county, I think 3 years in a row maybe now. So they were definitely the big dog.
Yeah. So my brother, you may know Bubba Love. That's my youngest brother.
Yeah.
He played with them and all his buddies. They put together a nice team there.
Yeah, those back-to-back years was huge. I mean, for sure.
A little disappointed to see him leave the burgundy and silver, you know.
Yeah, we played against him his freshman year. He was still over there, so definitely helped Westminster out a little bit.
Right. We didn't have that convenient rule back in my day.
Right.
But
right.
So in terms of you guys, this is just a spitballing question. Alex, when you're LSM, for everyone that doesn't know, that's long stick midi. And basically, when you go to college, you may be asked to do other things. You may be asked to grab a short stick. But one thing's for sure, you definitely want to get it on the stat line with a goal at some point in your college career.
Mm-hmm.
What will you pick? Because in college, it's different. So you get a goal song. Anytime you score, they're going to pick a song. What would you choose?
Oh, what would I choose? Oh man. That's really hard.
Mine was Love Shack. You know.
Oh man. Actually, I don't even know.
It's all good.
I
You
listen
gotta
to
start
so
thinking
much.
about it. You gotta
I
start
listen to
thinking
so
about
much different music that just gets me like hype all the time. Like I don't have one song that I would choose. Like honestly, if I did like just score goals, I would have a playlist that would play a different song every time.
it. Nice. I like it. Rotating. At least you didn't say Baby Shark.
Yeah, no, not to me.
Done with that. Done with that. Do you have one, Jackson?
So I remember. So I transferred from Loyola Blakefield to Century just this year. But when I would come to Century games my sophomore year, I remember sitting in the stands and they play their music when they play. And I remember watching Jalen Stanton would go coast to coast and he'd score like an on the run and then you hear Kodak booming and it was like the coolest thing I've ever heard. So I think I'd probably go with, I was thinking this year if I had one, I was going to go Run This Town, some old Jay-Z would have been a really cool one.
I like it. You might be able to save that. That's still a good one. It's never going out of style. That's cool. Did you have one, Coach, when you were playing?
No, I did not. I had one assist in college, and I didn't even leave the box. I chucked it all the way across the field, did an open attackman, and that's how I got my one college assist.
There you go. So, really, guys, I really wanted to thank you for joining us, and thanks for everyone for watching. Really wish you guys well this season. Hopefully there is going to be a sweet season. Even if it's something where it's just the county or a shortened season, take advantage of it. You're never going to get these opportunities again to play against your friends. So enjoy it, good luck, and keep working because you know that half of the people out there aren't working. They're not putting the work in. So you just be better every single day, and I guarantee you'll get to where you want to be.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I
Couldn't
appreciate
agree
it.
more, man. Work hard. That's all you can control. Work hard. When your opportunity comes, you got to take advantage, and that's what. Luckily at Century, we got a lot of guys. These are two guys that nothing's promised, and they're working their tails off for college, and Jackson for one more year, and the options, trying to get as many options as he can to play in college, and just work hard, and everything will work out from there.
Exactly. Do your part. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone else for joining us. Stay safe.